Hey Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today for the Scraproom to share with you my take on the Freaky Fast July formula, FFF, using the Doodlebug Hello collection. So that is the layout that I ended up creating. What I did was I cut up the pieces and I created a template and I shuffled those pieces around kind of like a jigsaw puzzle till I found something that worked for me. I have to be completely honest and tell you that this whole idea of the Freaky Fast thing kind of freaked me out because that's not how I scrap. But it was actually kind of fun in that it made me play with the layout a little bit and the construction of it. So what I did was I printed these two pictures. They are of my daughter in the garden one morning when we were out in Indiana. And I knew that the pictures would complement the pattern paper collection, which is Doodlebug by Hello. And then I cut up those pieces of cardstock in the sizes and shapes that were called for by the formula. And I used them to gauge what I was going to do with the pattern paper. So I used a white cardstock as my background. And then I cut the, I have to reference the formula, sorry. I cut the 10 by 12 piece as that teal. And then the 2 by 12 piece is that floral background. And then there's various different pieces of pattern paper that are going to end up kind of being the mat behind the photo there. There is a 1/2 inch by 12 inch piece that is called for, and I decided to make that the header up near the top of the layout there. And so what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to keep that 1/2 by 12, and it just so happens that that strip on the piece of pattern paper from the Doubleshot kit was perfect for that, but I am going to cut off the bottom 12 inches of that teal so that I can use that for something else. These kits only come with 3 pieces of pattern paper, which is fantastic for a flavor of the kit, but if you want to do more with it, you want to conserve as much as you can, so I'm going to cut off those bottom 2 inches instead of overlapping the other pattern paper there. So the other part of the formula is a 3-inch circle, and I was going to cut one of the pattern papers to form the 3-inch circle, but I really liked the doily instead. It added a splash more white and it tied the background into the layout by using the doily, so I went with the doily instead. And I have a nice collection of embellishments that come with this Doubleshot kit. There are a couple of die cuts. There's that tag with the camera that just happens to be the one that came in my kit. It's called a jello clip, and then there are some of the glitter sprinkles, which are basically enamel dots there. So I'm just going to try and find some of the embellishments that coordinate with the theme of this layout, which ultimately is going to be flowers and the butterfly because we're in the garden. And I want a couple more flowers, so it's easy to fussy cut those to just add a few smaller flowers that then tie the paper in that's at the bottom into the rest of the layout as you put a sprinkling of those flowers throughout the layout there. So I'll speed this up because you don't have to suffer through me fussy cutting. Just remember when you're fussy cutting to move the paper and you will get a much cleaner, sharper cut. Also, you do want to make sure that you use fine tip scissors as well as have sharp scissors when you are fussy cutting. So those are going to be the bulk of the embellishments that are on the layout. I am then going to use a few of those enamel dots to put as the center of the flowers, and I also would like to have a little butterfly trail, so later in the video you'll see how I do that. So I've committed to the placement of all of these things. I really try not to stick things down until I have committed to the placement of them, because pulling them up can be not so favorable with the ATG gun that I use for adhesive. I do have this roller that I was given at the latest CHA from 3L. It's Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L, but it doesn't always run consistently for me. You can see how the paper ran out, and that gets really frustrating. So it's really not my go-to adhesive. But I think I had run out of adhesive in my ATG, and because I was filming, I didn't want to stop. So I grabbed another backup adhesive, which is my Teresa Collins dot roller. And I do really like that, but it also, I feel like I can't get an even application of adhesive on that either. So that's why I end up sticking with my ATG really. So I used those pieces of paper from the formula to basically mat the photo and have them go horizontally, which interestingly enough, when I started laying out the pieces, the puzzle pieces to figure out how I was going to go, I actually had the photos stacked one on top of the other. And you'll see in most of the creations that I created with the formula, most of them do have the photos stacked, but I really liked it horizontal. And because my daughter is looking to the left, that is why I put that picture on the outside so that she's not looking off the page there. I am going to use a little bit of string thread behind each of those flowers. So I believe I have the navy thread behind one of them, and then I have a pink thread behind the other. It's really hard to see in the application on the video here, but you'll see that better in the close-ups. And there's also some thread behind that one as well. And the way that I put the thread balls down is I actually like to put adhesive on the die cut or whatever it is, put the thread, then kind of tease it out, and then put some extra adhesive, which also kind of adds to the teasing out process, and then stick that down on the page there. I have popped a few of these elements up. The butterfly definitely has some popping, because by popping that up, that enables me to put the twinery thread behind it. That does not come in the kit. That is from my stash, and that allows me to then create a butterfly trail. And I kind of struggled with how that trail was going to go. Originally, because I have the pictures moving across the page, I wanted the butterfly trail to move across the page as well, but it actually looks better when it moves down the page, because that allows me to sort of tie that top left embellishment cluster down to the other side of the page there. So typically I like to have 3 embellishment clusters. I like that trio. It creates that visual triangle. However, because of the horizontal width of my pictures and then the horizontal placement of all of these pieces of pattern paper, I actually really only have 2 clusters, that top left with the envelope and the butterfly, and then that bottom right that is above the pictures there. And I feel like the visual triangle is closed with the length of those horizontal pictures there. So I'm using my Scotch adhesive because that's what I used to put the butterfly trail down. Originally, in my title work of this layout, I was going to put, so hello is already a given because that is in the die cut there. And originally I was going to say hello morning sunshine, but I didn't like the way that the letters fit. I didn't like the combination of letters, so I just stuck with hello morning. I was going to do something longer, hello morning in the garden, but you can see how morning there is just perfect. It's that splash of yellow that complements the yellow in the flower, and so I just decided to leave it at that. Sometimes less is more, and I went with the less is more theory here. So that is my Freaky Fast Friday layout. I hope you have enjoyed seeing how that process came together for me. We would love to have you join in the challenge over in the scrap room over on Facebook. There's also a blog, and you can post things on the linky there. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Take care.